And sorry about how it started out with the fractions, because decimals were more helpful here. I know it was very tedious, but sometimes it's, like we were talking about practicing free throws or whatever, practicing piano lessons, whatever it is that we like to do. It can be kind of tedious sometimes, but the payoff's worth it because you have to notice something happening. Hopefully you notice this either gravitating towards a number or not gravitating towards a number. Did some of y'all notice that? Did any of your charts gravitate toward a number like 4? Did that happen with anybody? Did yes, no, maybe? Some people said yes. Okay. Did sometimes your graphs just seem to go off to bigger and bigger and bigger? Like going to infinity or negative infinity. You might remember saying that from Algebra 2. Okay, so we have y equals x squared minus 6x over x minus 1. Oh, and by the way, mentioning Algebra 2, that was 2 years ago. Some of you weren't in Honors Algebra 2. And if a lot of you were not. And if I am mentioning something that you feel like, whoa, that doesn't sound familiar to me, or it could be that you were in Honors and it was 2 years ago and you've developed a lot of maturity and forgotten some things. I'll be glad to. Don't feel like you should run away from the class. I had lots of things I didn't know from Algebra 2 when I got into pre-cal, and you can make all that up pretty easily. It's like getting back on your bike again. Okay, so anyway, just let me know, and it could be as simple as me sending you some Delta Math exercises or meeting with me a couple of mornings for a few minutes. But don't hesitate to say, I have no idea what you're talking about. That happened to me a lot when I was in high school and my freshman year in college. I was like, why does everybody know this but me? Okay? So anyway, let me predict what would have happened here, and you'll learn to predict if you don't already know. By the way, this is called a rational function. What we're studying right now, you'll see your first test will be on rational functions. What the word rational means is it's written as a fraction. Like even 3 is a rational number because isn't that 3 over 1? Why is pi not a rational number? Can you write it as a fraction? Okay, so you can't write pi as a fraction. Somebody may have told you something like 22 over 7, a few of you, but that's not pi. So forget that. You can erase that from your memory. That's not even pi. If you divide it out, you'll see. But anyway, it's irrational, right? 3.14159 and all around your math teacher's room that you had before, if you've seen it like written out or you memorized it for bonus points or whatever. So if you can write it as a fraction, it's rational and we can understand it. We may not like the fraction like 1,056 over 100,042,042, but I can understand that 1,046 over 1,042 people may have voted for a certain candidate, right? I mean, it does make sense. It's rational. Irrational numbers cannot be written as fractions. Okay? I'm not going to ask you definitions. Okay? Mr. Hills does usually ask definitions, so that's the first 2 questions sometimes on our test differ a little bit. But be that as it may, you obviously need to know the definitions and to be able to work with them. Okay? So that's what makes this a rational function. It's written as a fraction. I think you all remember enough from algebra that things in denominators can present us with problems, because what can I not have in the denominator? 0. So I would expect to have a vertical asymptote. Let me write out the word asymptote. Raise your hand if you've heard the word asymptote before. Okay, thank you for being honest. Okay, so a few people have not. You don't have to know how to spell it, because I always laugh at how you write it on the test, but you can call it a VA, a vertical asymptote, okay? A vertical asymptote is you're going along the x-axis, blah, 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 graphing points, like this, and then all of a sudden you run into something called a vertical asymptote, and it means that your graph does not exist there. What we'll learn over the next few days, right now you're kind of in discovery mode still. There's some things level off and create a horizontal asymptote. You'll even find in your discoveries that sometimes things slant off and become a slant asymptote. The fancy word for a slant asymptote is an oblique asymptote. You can say slant, okay? Horizontal, vertical. Obviously, based on your already good experience, not every graph has asymptotes. You've done graphs of quadratics and lines and cubed equations and all about functions when you were in your Algebra 2 class, and you didn't have to worry about asymptotes. Now, you may have touched on them in Algebra 2, but most of us, didn't get there. So I think we may have done it a little bit. But anyway, been a couple of years even if you've seen it, okay? You're never going to be able to have all three in one graph as kind of your comfort zone. You shouldn't be walking in and telling me, well, I found a slant, a vertical, and a horizontal asymptote in one graph. Because horizontal asymptote means that your graph was trying to go somewhere and it got kind of leveled. And this is slant. Do you see the difference in those? Slant is going off like a line, which is really weird. Horizontal is it levels off. And it reminds you not to have an asymptote. Lots of things you've studied before didn't even have a leveling off. Let me give you some real life examples of asymptotes. I'll say some and I'll show you some. An asymptote, I wish I could go through every algebra book that ever was written and erase the word asymptote. Other than it makes me sound really smart to run around and say today I'm teaching asymptotes, okay? But I wish I could erase the word and just call it guidelines. That's all it is a guideline, okay? You can touch an asymptote. If you've heard of asymptotes, you may think that maybe you couldn't touch one. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Okay, so I'm not finding that battle very much. But a lot of people come from Algebra 2 classes, and especially at other schools, think, oh, I can't touch the asymptote. In fact, one time one of my students saw a T-shirt they bought me and gave me. By the way, don't give me math T-shirts because I won't wear them. When I had a classroom, I hung them up on the wall. I'm a math nerd, but I won't wear math T-shirts. But anyway, it had a graph of a rational function like this one, and on it said can't touch this, like if you know the song. I almost want to burn it because you can touch asymptotes. Many times you don't. It's not the big issue. Okay. I'll guide you through all that as we go. A guideline would be if I wanted to have an aquarium in this room and I put a bunch of fish in it. I kind of have to worry about how many fish I put in it. Why? What if I put too many fish in it? They could die. The environment might not sustain it. So we might put little fish that are reproducing in the tank. That's really creepy. But anyway, there's more fish tomorrow. There's more fish the next day. But you see, the graph might grow, but you see it would level off at like 25 fish or something, because that's the only thing the environment can sustain. If we put in too many, wouldn't it level off this way, like you said? Okay. So another thing that's important is for dress code. I haven't really looked at everything yet, but now it's navy and white. But I imagine that's going to be pushed a little bit, and there's new skirts. I imagine that's going to be pushed a little bit. But you see that's a guideline that you stay somewhat close to. Some people get further away than others. But if you're like standing over here and you're, a pink top and a short skirt, you might get like a violation and have to talk to Dr. Califano because we're trying to pull you back toward that guideline, that asymptote. Your parents have guidelines that you sort of stay close to at home, and if you don't, somebody pulls you back toward that guideline. Okay. Another guideline is even that they've drawn asymptotes for you on some of the streets, and they're dotted lines, and it tells you where your taxi's supposed to stay between those lines. Okay. Can they cross those lines? Sure. If they need to turn right down on Park Avenue, they're allowed to get back into some other asymptotes. Okay. So there's dotted lines everywhere. One thing that I really think of is crafts. I wasn't very crafty growing up, so if I had to make like one of these boxes around the room, I would first want to do what a lot of you did, I think. You actually have a prototype of like where to fold, where to begin, and that's just like a guideline of how you're going to do it. Okay? We have to 11:25, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you a few pictures, then I'll tell you what to do for homework. One of your homework assignments is to make sure you bring this packet with you. Just keep it with you. Please do not complete it. You'll see what I mean when you start your homework. It's very similar, okay? Homework is a bit tedious. It's very doable, but it's this kind of tedious. It's not going to be real taxing on your brain, okay? Let me show you this real quickly, and we'll use these class notes again later. All right, here's some real-life examples of asymptotes from biology, finance, and medicine. This is a deer population on Walla Walla Island. Like, can you see that they really grew, but now they started to level off around 80 years? That must be what the environment can sustain. Here's another one. Can you see how this radial distance in thousands of light years, I don't know where I got this, but do you see it has asymptotic behavior?
Would that be vertical or horizontal?
These are horizontal. I haven't done any vertical yet. We'll have time for all of that later. Let me show you at least one more and then we'll go. This is insulin. Again, I don't know anything about medicine, but something about insulin. But can you see how whatever happened here medically shot up? It's starting to gravitate, it looks like, towards something maybe like 16 or maybe, it looks like it's getting close to 10 probably. You'll see how it's leveling off? So all graphs don't do that, but if they do it, that would be a horizontal asymptote, okay, for leveling off. I'll clarify all of this, but your homework should be, you should be able to do it. Please let me know right away if you're super struggling with it. If ever you have, please don't sandbag it where you're just like, oh, this color, it's really hard. But I think it'll be fine, but let me know if not.